Every morning, as the sun rose over his quiet farm, Elijah noticed his horse, Blue, standing knee-deep in the pond. Initially, he thought it was just Blue's way of cooling off, but as days turned into weeks, Elijah grew concerned. Why was his horse drawn to the water every single day? He decided to call the local vet, suspecting Blue might be ill. But when the vet arrived and saw what was happening in the pond, his face turned ashen with surprise. When it was still hot as hell outside, Farmer Elijah could fully understand his horse using the water in the pond to cool down. But he got worried when the horse kept doing this, even as the temperatures quickly dropped. And when he found that the animal had broken the ice covering the water this morning just to get in the pond, he knew that something had to be wrong here. Elijah called his regular veterinarian for assistance. He tried to explain the strange behavior of his horse to him, and the man couldn't help but be a bit surprised as well. The vet had not often heard about this kind of behavior before. He knew that horses were pretty well equipped to deal with both cold temperatures and cold water for extended periods of time. But he had never heard of one deliberately looking for that cold. However, from the story that Elijah told, it sounded more like the horse was just dead set on going into the small pond. It went in despite the cold, not because of it. Why else would it have done the same thing during the warmer months? But the vet had a very busy day, and the next couple of days planned, so he could not go all the way to Elijah anytime soon. But Elijah did not want to wait. The only other option the vet could think of was to transfer Elijah to another vet in the area. One that the farmer had never dealt with before, but his regular was fairly confident in the abilities of the man. He had been a farm vet for ever longer than he had, and had a good reputation among his peers. Nothing about this could have made Elijah suspicious of the man. He got in contact with the other vet and explained his strange case once again. The vet seemed a bit less impressed by the story than his normal vet, but at least this man had the time to come out to Elijah tomorrow morning. The interactions with the vet were a bit strange in Elijah's eyes, but for now he managed to push those worries to the side in his mind. At least somebody was coming. But the fact that they only managed to schedule the appointment for the next morning meant that the horse still had plenty of time to get himself into the pond of ice-cold water. And Elijah was dead set on preventing that from now on. With a lot of effort, he managed to get the animal back to the barn, but just locking it inside did not feel like harsh enough measures. The horse had managed to make its way out of Elijah's rigidity old barn on a couple of occasions, and when it was dead set on making it to the pond, it would probably be able to. And so, on top of locking it in the barn, Elijah also tied the horse down to one of the stronger beams in the place. If this did not keep the animal in place, then he did not know what would. With still a lot of time to kill before the vet would arrive that next morning, Elijah decided to do some research of his own. He went back to the small pond to try and figure out what could be so special about the place. What motivated his horse to keep returning and getting in the water day after day, no matter the temperature? When he arrived at the pond, there were still shards of thin ice floating on the water. But seeing as the temperature had risen a bit, they were starting to melt more and more. From up here, Elijah could not see anything he would consider to be out of the ordinary or suspicious. It just looked like a normal pond, of which there were many on his and his neighbor's land. He knew that if he wanted to potentially learn more, he would have to go into the water himself and maybe feel around. Or maybe he needed to have the water tested to see if there were any strange components present in it that affected the behavior of his horse. The more he thought about it, the stranger he considered the situation to be. He wondered if his neighbors had ever encountered a similar situation. Elijah, with a sense of urgency, ventured towards his neighbors, sharing the peculiar situation of his horse, Blue. The neighbors, too, had witnessed similar oddities. Their horses, like Blue, were inexplicably drawn to various ponds, regardless of the chilling temperatures. They hadn't considered consulting a veterinarian, thus Elijah's experience piqued their interest. While sharing his apprehensions, Elijah chose his words carefully, mindful of the mysterious nature of the water. As the community gathered, a sense of collective bewilderment emerged. Each neighbor recounted their stories, remarkably similar to Elijah's. The horses, though from different farms, were all drawn to their respective ponds with an unusual intensity. The group speculated about a possible shared cause, but couldn't pinpoint what it was. Elijah, meanwhile, resisted the urge to explore the pond's waters, suspecting something uncanny at play. That night, Elijah lay awake, troubled by the day's revelations. Outside, the sound of Blue's desperate attempts to break free and return to the pond echoed hauntingly. Elijah's mind raced with questions. What mysterious force was compelling these horses towards the water? The night stretched on, with Elijah wrestling with a mix of concern and frustration, while Blue's relentless efforts filled the dark, quiet hours. As the first light of dawn broke, Elijah, weary from a sleepless night, found Blue visibly exhausted and agitated. The horse's frustration was palpable, mirroring Elijah's own mix of emotions. The impending visit from the vet was the only solace Elijah clung to, hoping for some answers to the increasingly perplexing situation. The vet arrived, taking in the scene of the tired and irritable horse. Attempting to examine Blue proved challenging, as the horse's agitation made it difficult to approach. Elijah, with a mix
10
of
minutes
hope and
away from
anxiety,
Woodside, and so
watched
we get
the
very
vet
quick,
struggle to assess
prompt
Blue.
care whenever
His
we
mind
need
filled with
anything.
questions about what the day
They
would
do
reveal.
truly care about.
Together with the vet, Elijah visited neighboring farms, observing horses with behaviors similar to Blue's. Each horse seemed drawn to their farm's pond in the same peculiar manner. The vet conducted thorough examinations but found no apparent health issues or behavioral anomalies other than their unexplained attraction to the water. This deepened the mystery, leaving Elijah and the neighbors more perplexed. Back at his farm, Elijah insisted that the pond water be tested. The vet, initially skeptical, agreed to take a sample for analysis. He reassured Elijah that he would be in touch with the results. As the vet departed, Elijah stood by the pond, enveloped in a cloud of anxiety and puzzlement, staring into the enigmatic waters. The weather showed a slight improvement, emboldening Elijah to release Blue from the barn. Instantly, the horse made a beeline for the pond. Elijah watched helplessly as Blue waded into the water, torn between concern and curiosity about what lay beneath the surface that so captivated his horse. Elijah noticed a pattern in Blue's behavior in the water. Initially frantic, Blue soon settled into a state of what seemed like relaxation and contentment. This transformation in Blue's demeanor only deepened Elijah's concerns and curiosity about the mysterious properties of the pond water. Elijah's observations were mirrored on neighboring farms. Other horses, once released, displayed the same frantic to relaxed behavior in their respective ponds. This widespread phenomenon compounded Elijah's intrigue, pushing him towards a decision that he had been resisting, to experience the pond's effects firsthand. The vet's arrival the next morning brought no immediate relief. As he tried to examine Blue, the horse's exhaustion and irritability complicated matters. Elijah's frustration grew, witnessing the vet's struggle to conduct a thorough examination amidst Blue's uncooperative behavior. The situation seemed to be at a standstill, with no clear answers in sight. Elijah wrestled with a mix of emotions. Concern for Blue's well-being clashed with his frustration over the unresolved mystery. The vet's inability to provide answers only heightened Elijah's sense of helplessness. He was caught in a cycle of worry for Blue and curiosity about the unknown force driving his horse towards the pond. Determined to find answers, Elijah and the vet ventured to other farms. They observed horses exhibiting the same bizarre attraction to their ponds. The vet's examinations, though extensive, revealed nothing abnormal. The horses were healthy, yet their behavior remained inexplicably tied to the water. Elijah's determination led him to delve deeper into the mystery. He spoke with more neighbors, seeking any clue that might explain the horse's behavior. Yet, every visit and conversation only added to the mounting questions. The common thread was the water. But what was it about these ponds that so irresistibly attracted the horses? The vet, equally baffled, admitted his perplexity. He had never encountered such a phenomenon in his career. Despite his experience and knowledge, the answer to this riddle eluded him. Elijah and the vet were left pondering the mystery, both intrigued and concerned by the strange power these ponds held over the horses. The pattern of horses being drawn to the water repeated itself at each neighbouring farm Elijah and the vet visited. Like Blue, these horses seemed in perfect health, with no visible ailments. Yet, their compulsion towards the pond water was a behaviour that neither Elijah nor the vet could explain. It was as if an invisible force was luring these animals to the ponds. With each visit, the level of concern among the farmers grew. They exchanged notes, realising that this phenomenon was not isolated to just one or two farms, but was widespread in the area. The discussions were filled with theories and speculations, but no concrete evidence to explain the horse's behaviour. The vet meticulously examined each horse, looking for any signs of illness or abnormality. His findings were consistent. Aside from the unexplained attraction to the water, the horses were in good health. This left everyone involved more puzzled than before. The question remained, what was in the water that was so enticing to these animals? Elijah, driven by a mix of worry and curiosity, insisted on a more thorough investigation of the water. He urged the vet to test the pond water for any unusual substances or properties. The vet, though skeptical, agreed to Elijah's request. A sample was collected for laboratory analysis in hopes of shedding light on this strange occurrence. With the water sample sent for analysis, Elijah and the vet parted ways. The wait for the results was agonizing for Elijah. He spent his days observing Blue in the pond, trying to decipher any clue that might explain the mysterious allure of the water. The uncertainty weighed heavily on him as he awaited the call that would hopefully provide answers. Elijah found himself in a state of anxious anticipation for the lab test results. His mind raced with possibilities, yet he couldn't shake off a deep-seated unease. The mystery of the water and its inexplicable effect on Blue and the other horses continued to dominate his thoughts, leaving him restless and on edge. The vet, though initially skeptical about the water testing, had become increasingly intrigued by the peculiar situation. He assured Elijah that he would notify him as soon as the results were available. Elijah appreciated the vet's efforts, but remained troubled by the uncertainty and the bizarre behaviour of the horses. As days passed, Blue's behaviour grew more intense. Elijah noticed his horse's increasing fixation with the pond. Despite being released, Blue seemed only content when near or in the water, further deepening Elijah's concern and curiosity about what lay beneath the surface. Elijah spent hours watching over Blue, observing every nuance of his behaviour. He noted how Blue seemed to experience a sense of relief and satisfaction in the water, behaviour that was out of character and unlike anything Elijah had seen before. This observation only added to the growing list of unanswered questions. The phenomenon was not isolated to Elijah's farm. He learned from his neighbours that their horses too exhibited a similar pattern of behaviour. This widespread occurrence only intensified the mystery and urgency to find answers. The community was united in their concern and curiosity, all eagerly awaiting the results of the water test. Despite his apprehensions, Elijah couldn't ignore Blue's persistent draw towards the pond. He finally decided to let the horse have its way. Once released, Blue immediately trotted towards the pond, plunging into the water with what seemed like a sense of urgency and relief. Elijah watched, a mix of worry and intrigue etched on his face. In the pond, Blue's behaviour transformed. The horse's initial frantic movements gradually gave way to a serene calmness. Elijah observed this change with a growing sense of wonder and concern. What was it about this water that brought such a profound shift in his horse's demeanour? The scene unfolding before Elijah mirrored the experiences shared by his neighbours. Their horses, too, exhibited a frantic to relaxed transition upon entering their ponds. The consistency of this behavior across different farms added another piece to the puzzle, but the overall picture remained elusive. Compelled by an overwhelming blend of curiosity and concern, Elijah decided to take a bold step. He resolved to personally experience the pond's mysterious allure. With a deep breath, he prepared himself for what he might discover, knowing that this decision could be the key to unraveling the mystery. Elijah cautiously stepped into the cold waters of the pond. The initial shock of the chill was intense, but he steeled himself, determined to uncover the truth. Almost immediately, he felt something unexpected, a sensation of numerous tiny bites. Startled, Elijah realized he had stumbled upon a significant discovery. Recoiling from the biting sensation, Elijah quickly exited the pond. His heart raced as he observed countless tiny fish surfacing in the water. He managed to catch one, examining it closely. The fish was small and seemingly harmless, yet it held the key to the mystery that had plagued Elijah and his neighbors for weeks. Elijah's curiosity propelled him to research these tiny fish. He discovered they were a species known for feeding on dead skin cells, an invasive species likely introduced to the area by migratory birds. This revelation explained the horses' attraction to the ponds. The fish were providing a sensation that the horses found irresistible. Elijah wasted no time in sharing his discovery with his neighbors. The news brought a collective sense of relief and closure. The mystery of the horses' strange behavior was finally solved. The community could now understand the peculiar allure of the ponds and take steps to manage the situation. The understanding of what was happening in the ponds brought a sense of peace to the farmers. The horses were not in danger. They were simply enjoying the sensation provided by the fish. This knowledge alleviated the concerns and fears that had been brewing among the community. The discovery of the invasive fish species turned the situation from a baffling mystery into a fascinating example of a natural phenomenon. The community's perspective shifted from worry to fascination as they learned more about the ecological dynamics of their farms. Elijah felt a deep sense of satisfaction in having unraveled the mystery, bringing both understanding and relief to his community. With the revelation about the fish, Elijah and his neighbors began to view the ponds differently. They were no longer places of mystery and concern, but fascinating ecosystems. The farmers started to observe the interactions between their horses and the ponds with newfound interest and appreciation. Elijah took it upon himself to learn more about the invasive fish species. He contacted local wildlife experts and ecologists, seeking information on how these fish could impact the local ecosystem. His initiative transformed his farm into a hub of learning and environmental awareness. The community, inspired by Elijah's efforts, began working together to monitor the ponds and the fish populations. They organised meetings to discuss the ecological implications and potential actions to manage the invasive species while ensuring the well-being of their livestock and local wildlife. Elijah's experience with the pond transformed his perspective on nature and its intricate ecosystems. He developed a deeper appreciation for the delicate balance within his farm's environment. His newfound knowledge led him to implement sustainable practices, setting an example for his neighbors. The discovery of the fish and its effects on the horses taught the community a valuable lesson about coexistence with nature. They learned to embrace the unexpected and find harmony in the natural world. Elijah's farm, once a place of concern, had become a testament to the beauty and complexity of nature's surprises. Compelled by his newfound knowledge, Elijah decided to immerse himself further into the pond's ecosystem. He ventured into the water again, this time with a sense of purpose and wonder. The tiny fish swarmed around him, their gentle nibbling a bizarre yet enlightening experience. As he waded through the water, Elijah understood why the horses found this sensation so appealing. The fish's nibbling, though initially startling, was oddly therapeutic. It was a natural spa, a unique interaction between species that was both beneficial and harmonious. Elijah shared his personal experience with the community, explaining the sensation and the natural benefits it provided. His neighbors, intrigued by his descriptions, began to view the ponds not as threats, but as natural wonders that offered unique experiences for both humans and animals. Inspired by his experiences, Elijah became an advocate for natural ecosystems and their preservation. He organized community events to educate others about invasive species and the importance of maintaining ecological balance. His farm became a symbol of coexistence and environmental stewardship. The bond between the horses and the ponds, once a source of concern, had become a symbol of the surprising and beneficial relationships that can exist in nature. Elijah's journey from worry to wonderment showcased the beauty of discovery and the importance of understanding and respecting the natural world. In the chilly waters, surrounded by the tiny fish, Elijah experienced a moment of clarity. His initial fear and confusion transformed into understanding and appreciation. The fish, while invasive, had created a unique ecological niche that benefited the horses in an unexpected way. Elijah carefully caught one of the small fish, examining it closely. His research confirmed that they were indeed a species known for gently feeding off dead skin cells. This unexpected discovery explained the horse's attraction to the ponds. The sensation was akin to a natural massage. Eager to share his findings, Elijah called a meeting with his neighbors. He explained the nature of the fish and their harmless yet beneficial interaction with the horses. The revelation brought a sense of relief and fascination to the community, dispelling their fears and concerns. While the fish provided an enjoyable experience for the horses, Elijah and his neighbors began to discuss the environmental implications of having an invasive species in their ponds. They agreed to seek expert advice on how to manage the fish population responsibly, ensuring the ecological balance was maintained. The discovery of the fish and their role in the ponds fostered a new sense of harmony between the farmers and their environment. Elijah's journey of discovery had led to a deeper understanding of the intricate connections within nature, highlighting the importance of coexistence and respect for all living beings. The community, led by Elijah, sought advice from environmental experts on managing the invasive fish species. They learned about sustainable practices to control the fish population without harming the ecosystem. This initiative marked a significant step in their commitment to environmental stewardship. Elijah helped organize educational sessions for the community, focusing on invasive species and ecological balance. These sessions enlightened the farmers about the importance of maintaining harmony within their natural surroundings. Elijah's farm became a focal point for environmental education and awareness. The discovery of the fish and their role in the ecosystem encouraged the community to be more observant and appreciative of their natural environment. They began to recognize the importance of every creature in their ecosystem, no matter how small or seemingly insignificant. Elijah's experience transformed his perspective on nature and his role as a steward of the land. He developed a deeper connection with his environment, understanding the delicate balance that must be maintained for a healthy ecosystem. This change in perspective was reflected in his farming practices, which became more sustainable and environmentally friendly. The journey from mystery to understanding brought a new sense of harmony between the community and their natural surroundings. Elijah and his neighbors embraced their role as caretakers of the land, fostering a relationship with nature that was based on respect, understanding, and coexistence.